It's continuing coverage of Ball State football here on Ball State All Access. Joel Godett, the head football coach, Mike Neu joins us. Really odd last couple days for you guys. Last time we talked here, it was looking forward to what this season could be. So first off, how are you and how are they?
Yeah, I'm doing as good as I can right now. Certainly my focus and our focus on the staff right now is in regards to the players. And when you have something taken away and it happens, in such a quick way that it did, just making sure that, we try to move forward in a positive way. What's next on the agenda? Certainly all of us want that answer, like what does the fall look like? But right now we just have shifted our focus to voluntary workouts again for the guys. And, judging by the guys that have stuck around, we still got a significant number of guys here. And, they want to play and they believe in each other. And we've been through lots together. But we'll just stay the course, man. We'll do what we can and just try to continue to work on making sure our team's as good as we can be right now.
Take me through the process. I felt like Friday night, I'm here for practice, and there was the most giant sword of Damocles hanging over the stadium. What did you feel like? What did you know, and when did you know it as things unfolded last week?
I'll be honest. Obviously, I knew there was a meeting taking place on Saturday. I communicated that with the guys. I wanted to make sure they were kept in the loop. I certainly didn't know what the ultimate outcome of that would be. I think we all knew it could go one of two ways, and so I always try to be honest with the guys through the process. But I found out from my phone on Saturday. We were in meetings, and it was roughly about 10:30, 10:35, somewhere around that time frame in the morning, and word started to make its way. A couple guys went to the bathroom, and then it started to leak out. So you could imagine if you're in a meeting, the meeting no longer is, you're not able to stay focused. So I quickly shifted to calling a team meeting here in the stands for 11 a.m. And for those that didn't know already, I just wanted to make sure and get everybody together and communicate. And that was hard. It was just an empty feeling, and just the look of, like devastation in everybody's eyes. So many things that you're trying to process and go through. So tough day, one of the toughest days I've ever been a part of.
There was, I think, the assumption 9 of the 10 FBS leagues had put forward a plan to play. So there was almost the assumption of, well, we're just waiting for the MAC schedule. Like, what is the MAC plan? How much in the back of your mind did you have that worry that this was a possibility? And now, as we've seen, obviously other leagues have followed suit.
Yeah, I knew it was a possibility, but I didn't want to buy into it completely. I wanted to still stay strong on the fact that we were playing. And I know President Mearns, I know Beth Getz, we're working tirelessly to make sure and secure another opponent. When the Big Ten announcement happened and they were going to go conference only, I know how hard she worked to secure Iowa State. I know how hard she was working to secure, uncover some other options, the Indiana States of the world. And so I know how hard she was working, and I know how hard President Mearns was working to try to make sure that, there was still a fall season in place. And so I appreciate their efforts, in trying to get that done. I appreciate their honesty too. They always kept it very honest with me about what the scenarios were, and I always communicated that with our guys, and I know they were so thankful to just have the leadership, President Mearns and Beth Getz here at our university.
What was their reaction as this all unfolded? Because obviously we saw the hashtag We Want to Play movement gain some steam over the weekend. But the MAC United group of players put out that statement that said, hey, we appreciate our coaches, our administration for taking our health and well-being into consideration and making this decision. So in that regard, what was the feedback you got from the guys?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, aside from all those things you mentioned, and I know that it's about health and safety, I think heartbroken, though, is the thing that, most of the guys, you're just heartbroken because of our team and because of the 23 seniors and some of the things that we've been through here as a program. We feel like we've worked really hard to get to this day, and we're really looking forward to this season. And tremendous leadership on this team, tremendous depth. It was just so many things to be excited about, and so heartbroken in that you weren't going to be able to take the field with this team for the fall. And my communication with the team was like, golly, there's nothing more that I want than to try to see this team stick together whenever we are allowed to get on the field again and try to see the process through.
What were your biggest challenges this fall, had things progressed, in terms of guaranteeing the best you possibly could health and safety of the players, and what would that have looked like had things played out?
Yeah, I felt very strongly and very good about, and I feel like our players did too, about the protocol that's been put in place here by our university, by those involved from a medical standpoint. And so I felt very good that our guys, were doing a good job of following that. They knew there was a lot of responsibility placed on them. We have them together here at the stadium. We can enforce lots of things when they're here about being socially distant, about wearing their masks, doing all that. But there's a lot of responsibility that falls on those guys when they go back to their apartments or their houses or the dorm. And so just trying to continue to make sure guys knew how important that was. And, I feel strongly that guys knew that, and, because ultimately it would determine whether or not we play or we don't play. So I felt good about our team. And again, it goes to the maturity level of the guys on the team, a lot of seniors, lots of guys that have played a lot of football and been around here. So I felt good about their leadership and leading us during, those times to come during the fall.
Heather Dinich from ESPN had an interesting tweet when she talked about where we are right now in terms of different leagues and different conferences doing different things. And she talked about the fact that it's an interesting position to look at some places and say, how come they get to play and we're not playing? How do you handle the mental aspect right now of what some student athletes are going through, not just here, but at a good half of right now the country?
Yeah, and that's my focus right now. My focus is totally shifted to making sure that our players are in a good mental state of mind. And when you have something taken away and, your life there's so much structure involved in your life, and now to some degree that's taken away and you're not able to do something that you love to do. Maybe it's the first time for who knows how long that they've not been playing a game in the fall. That's for a lot of these guys, that's the majority of their life probably. So my concern is just making sure that they're in good, a good frame of mind, good mental health, and just we got to try to find some way to have fun, and do something that they still love and help brings the kid out in them, and still try to focus on, even though it's a very difficult time right now, just try to focus on what we can control, and let's be positive about the next time we are allowed to play, and let's just keep working, and let's win the weight. We put that out there, and we want to win the weight, and just try to make sure we're ready when our number's called.
Yeah, and the teams that do that best will be positioned best when this is all over, and hopefully not get blindsided once everything gets back to normal. Some people have said that spring football is not feasible, just as an overarching theme. I feel like Major League Baseball got to opening day this year not knowing how many teams were going to make the playoffs, so anything is feasible. What are the things in your mind that are the most difficult questions to be asked at this point, or the things that make it most feasible that have you really excited about potentially playing in the spring?
Well, I believe the same thing, that anything is possible, and so it is feasible. It just takes a different schedule than what you would know. The tempo, the intensity level, the practices might look different. You start out a season in the spring, the weather would be a flip, if you will. You'll start out cold and it gets warmer. So there's things that I certainly think it's feasible. How many games? That's the tough question to me to answer right now. How many games and, conference championships on the line? When can that be played? Is there still an opportunity of a bowl game? And those are some things that I'd love to have more information about before ultimately deciding what's the correct number of games. But no, we want to play, and I certainly believe that anything is possible. And then the back end of it's been discussed a bunch too, like the short turnaround, to a next season. And I still think that's very doable and possible, because that's not going to be a model that's every year going forward. It just takes some creativity on how you practice, even to start out fall. Your practices when you start out training camp, a year from now, they're going to look a little bit different than any normal training camp. So I certainly think it's definitely doable. It just takes some planning and doing a good job with the schedule.
I was going to say, does it affect the fall 2021? If it does, so be it. Just figure that one out as you go here. From a player's standpoint, what's it like to play 2 seasons in 1 calendar year, and what are your concerns as far as how that would get structured, being a guy that's been through that?
Yeah, and look, I've been in the Arena League before. When we started training camp in February, we played 16 games. In the playoffs, we played 18 games, and I had a couple young men signed with NFL teams that went on to play 16 games in the NFL too. So that's happened before, and I've been around guys. And again, you want to make sure that some of your practices just might look different. The intensity level might be a few more walkthroughs, a few more non-padded practices, but it's certainly doable. It just comes down to making sure you plan it the right way. You work with your training staff, you work with your strength and conditioning staff, and I think it's certainly possible. And I obviously would want the players' input on that as well. But I know how excited our guys are right now about wanting to play the game, and if you think about an NFL season too, you play 4 preseason games, 16 regular season, and if you get a deep run into the playoffs, that's 3 or 4 additional games. So even though you might not play in the preseason, you're still practicing for 4 or 5 weeks to get ready for that. So as long as it's not a constant model that you would do every year going forward, I still believe that there's a way to get that done.
Jason Candle said when the MAC postponed fall sports that he didn't, having been somebody who's been through having COVID, that he didn't want any of his players to have to deal with that on top of their normal responsibilities of school and football. And then the commissioner got asked the question too, is it almost a little bit of a relief for you now that you're not worried that something could happen? And he got really emotional when he talked about that on Saturday. Is there a part of you now that sits here and says, all right, we've taken one piece out of the equation, and hopefully our guys are better for that, and hopefully we'll be in a better place going forward come the spring?
Well, I want to be around our guys, and so when you postpone a fall season like that, and then you go back to having a reduced number of hours that you're allowed to be around them, that hurts me, because I'd love to still, even though the fall season has been postponed, training, strength and conditioning, meeting time, all those things are still essential to be able to have success and to build a program, to do things the right way. So I still want to be around our guys, and I'm hopeful that, as the fall gets on, as we learn more information in the weeks ahead about what we're allowed to do, I hope that involves our players still being able to be around us a significant number of hours during the day, because I feel like it's important to keep them engaged. I feel like that's important from a mental health standpoint. And I feel like it's important to make sure that they still have a plan in place every day, because if you just give them some free time and say, hey, by the way, just stay in your apartment, don't go anywhere, I don't think that's good for these guys as well. So hopefully it involves us being able to be around the guys a significant amount of hours on a daily basis and on a weekly basis.
Last thing, you guys had a head coaches meeting today. Obviously, you guys get the brunt of the publicity, particularly on the national level, as the football discussion. But volleyball, cross country, soccer, field hockey all had their seasons postponed as well. What's the discussion been like amongst you guys as head coaches of the fall sports and of the department? And how have you guys been, I don't know if crutch is the right word, but support systems for one another through what is obviously not a fun time?
Yeah, and obviously I know I'm the head football coach here at Ball State, but I certainly feel for my colleagues. Some of them had a spring season taken away, and some have already had to deal with that, and they've gone through what we're getting ready to go through right now. And so, but my main concern, and what I would, made sure to make it clear to the coaches on there, is what can I do to help you? We've been through some of the protocol to some degree with how we operate on campus, some of the challenges that might come when you get your team back here. So what can I do? What information can I help you with to maybe help you transition your team back here to campus, and how to go about business on a day-to-day basis? But the head coaches meeting was awesome, because Beth does such a tremendous job of just being honest with us and keeping us in the loop on what's going on. And we all want more information, but it's unfortunately some of that information's not there yet to be had. And so, but she's just been great about keeping us in the loop and being honest with us. And my goal is to help the other coaches and to help their teams transition back to campus and support them any way I can.
Mike, thanks.
Okay, thank you.